Hello, everyone, and welcome to this CLS Infra TNA mini conference. We have here three of our TNA fellows that are going to share their work and their experience working with us here at the UNED. The first of them is Jyothi Justin from India. She's gonna share a very interesting work on mapping certain events that happen in India. So, welcome, Joe. Do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. I'll start sharing my screen.
Oh, wait, sorry. If you want to ask a question or something, please go on Twitter and use the hashtag TNA-UNED Madrid. It's there on the screen right now. And we'll answer all of your questions. Thank you very much now, Joe.
Yeah, I'll share. Is it visible?
Yes.
Yeah. So my name is Jyothi Justin, and I'm a doctoral student with the Department of English at Digital Humanities and Publishing Studies Research Group at IIT Indore, India. What I'm presenting today is actually a part of my thesis, and it is entitled Digital Cartography and Feminist Geocriticism, a case study of the Marichjhapi Massacre. So my research is primarily at the intersection of Dalit studies, massacre studies, feminism, and geocriticism. To give a context, like Dalits belong to the lower caste in the hierarchy of caste system that is prevalent in India. Like caste system is basically a social hierarchical order that is present in India, mostly based on Hinduism. So Dalits belong to the lower caste, mostly the Sudra Varna of the caste system. And in this study, I am mapping Dalit massacres in India post-independence. And for this, I'm using digital cartography and geocriticism. Geocriticism is actually a theory in literature that focuses on settings or place in a narrative. And bringing feminism to geocriticism actually relocates the focus to the females in a narrative or in a particular place or a setting. So my interest is in looking at the intersection of space, caste, and gender in Dalit massacres, and to understand how these are interconnected and how these operate in a Dalit massacre. So this is a primary mapping of the major Dalit massacres in India from 1965 to 2018. I have primarily used QGIS for this mapping. So while looking at this mapping, we can formulate our own research questions like what are the spatial location of Dalits and where are the spatial location of the Dalits and what are the frequency of the massacres, and is there a relation between space and the frequency of massacre? And the primary question of this study is where are the women of independent India's unheard Dalit massacres? The research objective is to primarily make use of a methodology that we have developed, that is a combination of feminist geocriticism and digital cartography, to identify both real and fictional survivors of the massacres that we are looking at. And I have actually created a database for this survivors, and the final output of the project will be to develop a geospatial humanities project with a final interactive mapping or a spatial archive, to create a spatial archive which is in the early stages of development, and I'm currently developing the archive at UNED with the help of CLS Infra fellowship. So in this presentation, I'll be focusing on the real and the fictional female survivors of Marichjhapi massacre, which took place in West Bengal, along with a preliminary mapping of the database that I have developed on the survivors, camp locations, and movement of the refugees. So to give a background of Marichjhapi massacre, there was a partition that took place in India in October 1905, in which a particular state in India, Bengal, was divided into East Bengal and West Bengal, primarily based on religion, in which the Muslims chose to stay behind in East Bengal, which became a separate country called Bangladesh, and West Bengal, in which the Hindus were primarily located. So this partition resulted in the movement of refugees to and fro from East Bengal to West Bengal and back. So there was a caste aspect that was operating in this migration. That on deeper analysis, I found that only the Muslims, only the upper caste Hindus had access to the prominent areas in West Bengal, mainly Calcutta, which was the capital of West Bengal. Whereas the lower caste who didn't have connections in West Bengal were relocated to the Dandagaranya, which was a forest-like area. So initially the refugees tried to relocate themselves in Dandagaranya, but they were not able to set up habitat over there. As a result, they moved to Marichjhapi, which was a group of island that was closer to their initial home, that was Bengal. So, after they relocated to Marichjhapi, they were forcefully evicted by the state, mainly citing environmental conservation or preservation as a reason. But the actual reason was that a lower caste group of people was able to set up a region of their own and to develop and establish themselves. But so this irked the upper caste, and especially the upper caste who were also part of the government, and this resulted in massacre in 1979, thereby killing 10,000 of the refugees who resettled in Marichjhapi. The numbers are not correct or confirmed, mainly because the state is still denying that such a massacre has even took place. So we cannot find any official detail on the number of deaths or the identity of the victims in any official records. So when we look at the research on Marichjhapi, we can find that there is research only after the 1990s, though the incident actually took place in 1979. And there is a lack of a proper gendered perspective on the research on Marichjhapi, mainly because the narratives are focused on males or male survivors. So what I did is to develop a methodology that can look at the importance of female narratives in these Dalit massacres. So the first stage was collecting data. I have collected data from online newspaper reports, English literary texts, research articles, court orders, petitions, etc. And in literary texts, we are focusing both on fictional and non-fictional narratives. And then this data is analyzed using feminist geocriticism and visualized using digital cartography, thereby conducting an analysis of space, caste, and gender in the massacre. So the texts that we are looking at currently for the study are only the ones that are in English, though in future we do intend to expand the study to the texts that are available in Bengali, that is the mother tongue of Bengal. For now, we are looking at only these texts that I'm showing. So the methodology is first to locate the place in this context, it is Marichjhapi, and then we located the narratives, both fictional and non-fictional, and then located the female survivors. And the stages in mapping is that we initially manually geopassed the location and the survivors, the location of the survivors, and then geocoded it with the lat-long value and geo-rectified the maps that we needed to historical maps, especially the historical map of 1979 Indian map. So the major results are that I found that there is a use of both real and fictional settings in the narratives on the massacre. Why fictional settings? Mainly because it is controversial. And since the state itself is denying that such a massacre has even taken place, to write about it in a non-fictional aspect will incite more controversy. So Amitabh Ghosh makes use of a fictional space called Lucy Barry to talk about the massacre in the Hungry Tide. But he also makes use of the actual setting, but the main focus of the narrative is on the fictional setting that he is narrating. Then, sorry, I'm not able to change. Yeah, so this is a Lucy Barry. This is Lucy Barry, the fictional setting that Amitabh Ghosh is creating in his narrative. It is possible to geolocate this location because he describes its location as located in between Emily Barry, James Moore, and Anpur, which are actual physical coordinates or physical locations. So it's possible to locate Lucy Barry on an actual OpenStreetMap. And this is how we did the mapping of Lucy Barry. This is in QGIS. So to compare the real and fictional survivors, I found that there is a striking similarity between the real and fictional survivors on the narratives, especially Kusum, who is actually a fictional character created by Amitabh Ghosh, has resemblances with Manna Goldar, who is an actual survivor of the massacre. She is interviewed by Deep Haldar in his work, in his oral history work named Blood Island. And within the fictional narrative, we can see that there is differences between the portrayal of the upper caste and lower caste women. For example, Kusum is the lower caste woman is actually located in the site of massacre, that is Marichjhapi, and has first-hand experience of the massacre, in contrast to Nilima Bose, who is an upper caste woman and is located in Lucy Barry, and hence away from the site of massacre and in a better position. So the lower caste women are mostly concentrated in Marichjhapi, whereas the upper caste women are in Lucy Barry, in the fictional narrative. So when we try to locate the real survivors, we can see that they are scattered in the states like West Bengal, Orissa, and Chhattisgarh, and all these states are closer to the actual home of the refugees, that is Bengal. And there is very little representation of Dalit narratives or Dalit female narratives in fictional representation, particularly in English, particularly because there is only one narrative in English. In this map, you can see the intersection of the real and fictional representation of women, and they are particularly concentrated in West Bengal and Sundarban, which is closer to the site of the massacre, that is Marichjhapi. And the real women are more in numbers because we have only looked at one text. We are also trying to geo-rectify and bring in a 1979 map of India so that we can scroll in and understand how the location has changed over the years. So in terms of space, we found that the female refugees, the lower caste female refugees are still located in the site of the massacre. That is, they're still located in and around Marichjhapi. They have not been rehabilitated, or they are still living in the same conditions as before the massacre. And due to this proximity of we can see that it is their lower caste status that determine their location, that is their location in Marichjhapi, and this in turn affected their gendered experience. So I believe that space should be considered as a category in the intersectional identity of Dalit, as it is directly proportional to their caste and gendered experiences. This is the mapping of the refugee camps in which the refugees were initially relocated. You can see Dandagarine also in it. And these refugee camps are also located in the states that are closer to their actual habitat, that is Bengal. The state and district-based location of the refugee camps are seen here. And there is also a striking difference between Marichjhapi and Kolkata, as we can see that the upper caste were mostly concentrated in Kolkata, which was the capital of Bengal, whereas the lower caste had to relocate themselves to Marichjhapi. And the states that were chosen as refugee camps were also the origin states of Namasudra. So Namasudra is the caste, the Dalit caste that was relocated into Marichjhapi. The Dalits who were relocated and later massacred mostly belonged to Namasudra caste. Yeah, this is a flow map of showing the movement of the refugees from East Bengal to Dandagarani and back to Marichjhapi. This also shows the source-based mapping of the female survivors. The authors, we also looked at the authors and their spatial location. For instance, we found that of the 13 authors who authored the narratives on the massacre, only 5 were women, and and hence the narratives were predominantly from a male aspect. And the gender and spatial location of the authors also influenced the narratives that were coming out on Marichjhapi. For instance, female writers focused more on female experiences, and we also found that the authors were belonging to an upper caste. So there is a dire need for more narratives from Dalit female writers on more of the female experiences of the massacre. We also looked at newspapers and found that the prominent or mainstream newspapers were not reporting on the massacres per se, but the independent newspapers were even having series on the massacre, especially after 2000s. And we were not able to identify the identity of the female survivors from the newspapers. They were either anonymized, or they were referred to as somebody's mother or sister, etc. And hence, there is a lack of foregrounding. There is a need to foreground more female narratives of the massacre. We also looked at the court orders, letters, and petitions. Why we're looking at multiple sources? It's because it is the methodology that we are following. Like geocriticism looks at multiple narratives on a location to understand how the narratives on a particular place is evolving. So by looking at the court orders, letters, and petitions, we found that there are no case or court verdict on rape and physical assault. But these instances have been reported in the oral history on Marichjhapi, stating that such instances did take place, but there is no record of any conviction or in this aspect. And in conclusion, I was able to see that there is a relation between spatial location, caste, and gender, because caste determined the spatial location of the refugees who had to relocate to a particular place, and this concentration of a particular caste in a particular place resulted in massacre and later gender-based experiences. So we also found that there is a lack of female narratives or legal responses in terms of the gendered experiences in this massacre, and there is anonymity of the female survivors, which also highlights the importance for archiving and for grounding such narratives in future. So future research interest is to develop a spatial archive with hyper maps, and this is what I'm trying to do in UNED with the help of CLS Infra. And these are the works that are cited. And I convey my sincere gratitude to the organizers at UNED, my professor, and my institute for enabling me to conduct this study. Thank you for listening.